Women who have survived unthinkable and unspeakable violence behind the closed doors of their own homes are speaking out more than ever before. This podcast is dedicated to sharing the stories and journeys of women survivors turned entrepreneurs and how they use their strength and tenacity to help other women move from surviving to thriving. Welcome to Flow Rising. This show contains adult topics and often contains triggering stories. Audience discretion is advised. In this episode, I sat down for a chat with Essi Bagheri. We talked about his life as a survivor of child abuse and being a child soldier, his journey through addiction, and how he came out the other side. Now he's thriving and helping others through their own trauma and addiction recovery as a coach. Essi openly shares his stories in his book, Shattered Soul, and his own podcast, Resiliency Talks. You can find him on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Flow Rising. I am Megan, the host, and today I have a very special guest who is joining me to share his story about surviving some amazing odds as not only a child abuse survivor, but also through adulthood and learning how to overcome trauma, abuse, and addiction. So welcome with me today. I have my guest, Essi. Thank you for joining me on the show today, Essi.
Thank you so much, Megan, for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yes, I'm excited to hear all about the kinds of things that you do and have you share your story. I always say that it is always a special privilege for me when men are willing to come and share, because I'm the mother of two boys, and teaching boys to be vulnerable about their emotions is hard. And especially those who, my two children are also abuse survivors. And so it is wonderful that you are willing to open and share. And I'm sure the world is very blessed by all of the things that you share in your life. So let's start with all the wonderful things. I know you are an author, you are a coach, you are a TEDx speaker. So share with the audience a bit about all of the wonderful things that you're doing now in your life and the wonderful things you're bringing to light in the world right now.
Of course, I'm living in the most beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, Vancouver, Canada, and I'm so blessed to be alive and to be able to do this. Uh, what I do these days, as you said, I'm an author, TEDx speaker. I've been speaking all over the place, and I have a passion to impact people's lives, and what you want to call it, God, creator, power greater than ourselves, someone put me in this place to carry the message of hope, basically.
Yeah.
Because we all have a story, and so what I do, I help people. As you know, I have a podcast called Resiliency Talks, and I believe we all need to be resilient, especially in these days. We've been going through so much, and uh, being in North America and living in North America, I'm really privileged and honored and spoiled, as you want to call it.
We are.
So yes, we are. And sometimes we forget because we just tunnel vision our world, and we don't see there is a bigger picture. So what I do, Megan, I help people overcome addiction, drug addiction, alcoholism. I help them to get inspired, ignite, at least ignite something in their heart to take action in a short form. I basically inspire them, especially as we're going to talk about my story, where I came from and what I've been through. And that's basically what I do these days. Yes.
Yeah. So share with us the title of your book, because I know you have published a book.
Yes. My title of book is called Shattered Soul, the true story of a child soldier. And I wrote this book in 2018, 2019. It came out, and it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and that's by itself. Writing this book was so therapeutic, and I encourage people to write books and share their stories.
Yeah. No, I think it's one of those things. The reason I started my podcast was I'm not a writer, but I found, you know what, sharing and really getting the story out there. I'm very much, that's what the show is all about, is helping people get their own message to the person who needs to hear it, because there's always at least one human that listens to the show and goes, oh wow, he did it, I can. That is why we are here.
That's
So
correct.
I was blessed to share a little bit of a chit chat with you the other day, but the audience hasn't met you yet. So share with us a little bit about your background and actually how, obviously being an addiction and trauma coach, most people that I meet came to that because that's how they themselves found healing through their own journey. So share with us a little bit about your journey to where you are today.
Of course, as you know, and we cannot transfer something we don't have. And what I mean by that, as you can tell from my accent, I'm not from North America. I was born in Iran, in Middle East, and before, you know, talking about trauma is like I laugh about it sometimes because I don't know what I put. Some people, when they read my book and say, "Oh my God, how could you survive?" But here's the thing: before age of I was 6 months when I separated from my father, from my mother actually, and raised by my stepmom. Age of 5, I find out that I have two mother. That by itself was like very traumatic. Like imagine
Mm-hmm.
5 years, hey, you have different mother, and before age of 10, I was physically, emotionally, sexually, and abused, and really lived in a uh, dysfunctional family in a way, and and it was very very traumatic. But I didn't know, my parents. That's all they knew, and I for years I blamed them. But after I went through a therapy and realized, you know what, this is they did the best they could, and their parents did the best they could, and with what they have now, and but my journey starts when it was Iran-Iraq war. It was a revolution in Iran, and I was
Mm-hmm.
13 at the time, and then it was Iraq attack Iran, and I was 14, and I really always wanted to feel belong to something, to someone,
Yeah.
because my whole life I felt alone. I felt not belong, and then Iranian. So I volunteer. Kind of. I always talk about brainwash because at 14 you can't really make a decision to go to war. Knowing, ooh, like you think about it now, but
Yeah.
I honestly think that I was kind of brainwash in a way, because no 14 years old to say, hey, yeah, I'm gonna go want to go to war and may possibly die. It's just not a healthy way. So I was in training for almost 6 months, and with same friends, 13, 14 years old, and we went to
Yeah.
war. And but what happened, the turning point was when was middle of the night. There was chemical weapon, there was bomb left and right. We were, and one of my friend, two actually, one of my friend, one front, beside me, they stepped in a landmine,
Mm.
and it's very traumatic. But that's my story, and they blow up,
Yeah.
and I watched that, and the impact of that explosion throws me few meters away, and I was
Mm-hmm.
disillusioned. I didn't know what to do, and I
Yeah.
didn't want to die,
Yeah.
and I was scared, and but I couldn't go back, say, hey, I'm sorry, I changed my mind, I want to go home, I'm just a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had suddenly, I think there was something working in my life, wasn't my time. So,
Yeah.
and I couldn't go through my mission. So I took off my AK-47 and I put it in my left arm, and I
Mm.
shot myself.
Sure.
And 14 years old, and you know, but my physical wound healed, Megan,
Sure. Oh yeah,
after a
they do.
few months.
Yep.
I have 93 stitches, and but I had no idea the psychological effect would have on me.
Yeah.
And that's just the beginning. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I have two 14-year-old kiddos myself. One's
Yeah.
my bio son and one's my stepson. And like you said, they they can't make rational thoughts about what to eat for breakfast, let alone
Hmm.
making that adult decision of, yes, I'm going to go to war. And I can't even, I mean, I was privileged to grow up in the United States. I was privileged to grow
Yeah.
up in, you know, very protected. So you share your story, and I'm one of those people that's like, wow, I can't
Yeah.
conceptualize my children being in a situation to go to war. But like you said, the psychological effect that all of that had, and I think that that's a lot what we talk about here, is that it's not just the things that happened to us, physical abuse, being beaten, sexual molestation, war, all of these things. That physicality heals, but the mental emotional part,
Hmm.
that's just the beginning. That's just the
Yes.
beginning. And I know that you were able to manage to get away from that situation, the war situation. But as you said, that was just the beginning.
The
So
beginning. Yeah.
then, as you get older, you start battling with addictions and the psychological stuff. So share with us a little bit about the journey through that psychological piece to where you did find
For
a,
sure.
a healing space.
Definitely. Well, it is important to also mention when I came back home, I was, I was really mentally, emotionally, psychologically just really damaged in a way
Yeah.
and broken or whatever you want to call it. And then top of that, I got into they forced me to marry someone at the age of 15,
Yeah.
and then that's and as a result of that I have two beautiful sons, but that's and then I had to escape because as a result I started drinking. I
Sure.
started drinking,
Sure.
and drinking really was against Islam, and it was against new regime, and so they find out that I'm drinking in Syria, Damesk, and then I had to escape. So I
Yeah.
escaped from Iran to Istanbul, from Istanbul to East Germany, from East Germany, jumped into the midnight train. I went to West Germany, became refugee in a refugee
Yeah.
camp, drinking every day. I was in Germany for 2.5 years, Megan, but I cannot remember that I had a sober breath
Wow.
because I was medicating. And so then I came to Canada, and I really wanted to change my life. I
Yeah.
escaped and I came to Canada, and then in 1988, and I really wanted to change my life, but I had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
And so many, I'm pretty sure so many of your audience or people hearing that, we say, oh, that's life, this is my luck. And
Yeah.
like and then what happened, I came to Canada, and my drinking started to escalate, and my and I started using drugs, and
Mm-hmm.
that's done me. And then
Yeah.
I came to Vancouver, Canada, and just homelessness. And I went to my first treatment center in 1980, 1997, and I thought this time, I thought they're going to take me to a hospital, and
Yeah.
they're going to do a blood transfusion, and I'll be okay. Because here's the thing: when I was a baby, my stepmom used to tell me that, Essi, when you were a baby, you were crying, and unable to
Mm-hmm.
shut you down, calm you down, we give you opium,
Oh,
enable
wow.
to in your milk to calm you. So I thought, well, it's in my blood. They're going to take me to hospital. They do a blood transfusion, and I will be okay.
Yeah.
So, but that wasn't the case. I
Mm-hmm.
still didn't know what was going on. I
Mm-hmm.
went to my first treatment center, and I was in a treatment center for like 1 month, and I told everybody I would never ever touch another drink or drug again, and I really meant it. And if you
Yeah.
would have come and do a lie detector, Megan, I
Yeah.
would pass 110%. I don't know if you know of anybody drinking, so that's my first
Oh, yeah.
treatment.
No, I always tell people I didn't suffer with alcohol addiction. I suffered from abuse addiction. I was
Hmm.
addicted to my abuser in a very similar way. I mean, statistically, it's 7 times. I think I tried to leave my ex 4 or 5 times, and every time, same thing. Absolutely never again. He is
Yeah.
never hitting me. He is never touching me. And right on back I'd walk.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it is a very similar mental, emotional, not chemical. I
Yes.
never turned to the alcohol. I turned to marijuana. I was a
Yeah.
very heavy marijuana user for many, many years. And a lot of people are like, you can't be addicted. I'm like, you can. You can be addicted
Yes.
to checking out, to escaping the mental, emotional pain that you're going through. And so, yeah, but I know a lot of people relapse even when they're
Totally.
like, nope, I am absolutely never going back.
Yes, here's the thing. I didn't know. I thought it's a willpower for me at the time. I
Mhm.
thought, no, that's it. But guess what happened? I left the treatment center 2 days later. I'm drinking and smoking crack.
Yep.
And I was baffled. Holy, what happened? Anyways, long story short, I want to get into the solution.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been to 17 treatment centers since then.
Mm-hmm.
29 detoxes, psych ward, homelessness, jail, and wanted to kill myself until 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
9 years ago, my last, I missed my son's wedding. They, I had no money. My sister said, "Essi, you haven't been father to your son. Please come. It's his wedding." I said, "Sister, I'm not fit. I'm not doing good. I have no money, and I don't know." So she sent me $3,000
Mm-hmm.
to buy a ticket and come to Iran and visit for my son. And I went and I bought the ticket, Megan. I packed my bag 3 hours before the flight. Now at this time, 4 cars, 20 people, my son, mom, everybody traveled to Tehran to the airport to pick me up 3 hours before the meeting, my flight. I took a drink.
Yep.
And if anybody's alcoholic, when you take a drink, something happened.
Yep.
I canceled my ticket, and that night
Yep.
I wanted to kill myself. And I
Yeah.
said, I don't know. And I bawled all night. I cried and I said, I don't know what to do. And I fell down to my knees and I said, I don't know what you call yourself.
Yeah.
God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, universe, either kill me
Yeah.
or save me,
Yep.
because I couldn't do it anymore. So my journey starts in recovery almost 9 years ago. And since then, Megan, I dive into healing. I went
Mm-hmm.
to trauma group, counseling, meditation, 12-step program,
Mm-hmm.
exercise, everything. I start to feel alive again. So that's
Yeah.
basically what a little bit of background.
Yeah. No, I can remember. It's interesting. I was thinking about this morning for some reason. I was taking a shower and
Hmm.
my aha day was very, very similar, but I was not similar in the fact that I was not completely bereft of anything other than I'd lost complete connection to myself. I was at
Hmm.
work one day and I was standing and screaming. I mean, screaming at my coworker about my very narcissistic, abusive boss who had brought his gun to work that day.
Hmm.
And that was just the type of person he was. And he wasn't going to use the gun, like he wasn't, but he would set it on the desk as like a power play, like I have my gun and I'm in charge. And I was screaming, why wouldn't he change? Why wouldn't he change? Just make them change. And by them I meant my now ex-husband and my boss at the time. And I remember just this, I mean, it was barely a whisper that said,
Hmm.
they're never going to change, but you can. That was it.
Yes.
It was just this tiny, and it was just like, I remember this calm came over me and I was like, and I did the same thing. I was like, I used the term universe, God, I do not care what people say. I was like,
Yes.
but I don't know how. How? Show me how.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big things that I love having this platform is to have people share. So 9 years ago, you hit rock bottom. we all hit that space where we're just like, so what was, what have you found to be, and I can't say it's the most successful thing or the most helpful thing, or, but what's something that you've found that has really kept you going? Because you and I know it's
Mm,
not all uphill once you hit the rock bottom and you're like, yes. No, it's not that at all. It's
no.
very rocky from there. But what's kept you going this whole time as you're traveling this healing journey?
Great question, Megan. My my turning point was when I had the realization that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired the way I was living. And I believe people change when they're in a corner and they have no other way. That's why we start thinking. And then the second thing was, and continue, is that I my whole life I felt like I victimized. I felt like I'm
Mm-hmm.
victim, poor me,
Mm-hmm.
this has happened to me, my parents did to me, my bod, and me. And guess what happened? And make me more sick and sick until I took responsibility, Megan. I
Mm.
said, nobody gonna come to save you, Essie. Nobody cares for you the way you should care about yourself. And I start searching and I start participating and I start taking massive action.
Mm.
Massive action. Here's the thing, there's a stigma about trauma and addiction. People don't want to talk about it, and here's why they don't want to talk about it: because it takes vulnerability, it takes courage, it takes really everything you have to say, hey, I'm going to talk to Megan and say this is what I've been through. And
Yep.
guess what? And if Megan really cares for me, she would understand and she would not judge me, because my whole life I was trying to please you. I tried to please her. I tried to please him. And if in a room, 100 people, Megan, 99 of them, they love me, they care, and one person, guess what I would do? I would ignore all the 99
Mm-hmm.
people and I would focus on what should I do for that person to like me.
Yep.
And again, it was my self-worth that I need to work on. It was my self-esteem. I need to really go deep and talk to that leader, Essie,
Yeah.
and say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry that that happened to you,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm here. You're
Mm-hmm.
safe. And take and on and on. So this is absolutely is um, it's not an overnight matter.
Yep.
It's not that, hey, I'm going to one week, 1 month treatment center or a therapist and I'm going to be okay. No, because this is it. Life will happen either we like it or not. We are in challenges. Either we just left the challenges or we heading towards one.
Yep.
That's life. I learned through a lot of work that I am responsible for my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so blessed to be have the opportunity. Like, who would have known, Megan, that all the pain and suffering and all the things that I just share with you and your audience, that one day that can be come back in a form that it can be helpful and productive to, and I can help someone else. I would never in a million years would think of something like that, and exactly that's what happened.
Yeah. No, I think that I say I get blessed by all my guests more than than anything, because
Yeah.
I get reminded that, oh, wait, there was a time for you, there was a time for me when we were
Hmm.
sitting where somebody who's watching or listening this is sitting right now and going, and it's that me, and there's nothing inherently wrong with being there, because you don't necessarily know that there's something beyond, like,
That's
and we're
right.
here saying there's something beyond. And I loved what
Mm-hmm.
you were talking about that forgiveness, that
Mm-hmm.
personal, like, I it took me, I'm 4 years past being out of my marriage, and it took me up until just 4 months ago, 4 months ago, when I finally found a therapist, a trauma informed therapist. And I always tell people it's very important to
Mm-hmm.
keep trying to find the right human that, that works with where you are, because it's, and you just keep trying. If that doesn't work, keep trying. And so I finally found someone, and we started talking about that little, for me, it's the little Megan that,
Mm-hmm.
and I, there's someone I follow on TikTok. I have, I also tend to say that, surround yourself by good people who've been there, people who give good information, give good advice. And this person talks about that there's a 4-year-old Megan, there's a 12-year-old Megan,
Mm-hmm.
there's a 15-year-old Megan, there's all these little children, there's a 21-year-old Megan who's the Megan that met my ex, and it's always constantly going back and going, I'm sorry. And the other thing I always say is, thank you for being strong enough to get me here.
Yeah.
Your strength got me here. This 42-year-old Megan could not be sitting here doing this if 21-year-old Megan hadn't been strong.
That's totally correct. Yeah, thank you for sharing a little bit of your story with me. Here's the thing: we have this assumption that life should be easy and straight, and narrow, and everything. We believe, or the society, But who I believe we grow, we become stronger by going through challenges, going through struggles. And if we don't go through struggles, and if we have that belief system that, hey, all the things that I've been through, life didn't happen to me, life happened for me. The relationship that I was didn't work out. It's, for example, I learned so much because here's the thing. I'm pretty sure, Megan, you can relate to this because you've been through unhealthy relationships, and then, but I'm so you learn so much. That experience, you put it in the new relationship, new
Mm-hmm.
opportunity, and somebody that going through the same that you've been through say, hey, you know what, I've been there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I overcome it and made me a stronger person. And it's a totally, but again, I believe vulnerability, Megan, is the key.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerability is the key to growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being willing to just be honest,
Hmm.
and because I think that's that human experience. I mean, it's you were telling your story, and it was interesting. You were giving dates, and I'm thinking about, I was probably, I mean, when you were 14, I was 6 or 7 by the dates you gave, and I was like,
Yeah,
and I was probably watching the TV, and the news was talking about what you were going through, and I
exactly.
was watching it again in good middle class white America in the 80s, going, wow, that's really terrible. And
Hmm.
not even connecting to the fact that, all these years later, 28 years later, here I am, 30 years later, talking to someone that I'm like, wow, it puts it in perspective of, not that I didn't have trauma and abuse as a child, because I've never met a survivor that's like, oh, yours was worse than mine. Oh, yours was, we don't compare,
No, no.
because the end result is the same, that we both came to the understanding that, it's just so weird how it puts a perspective to go, huh. But we both came to the realization that it wasn't about what I'd gone through. It's that letting go of that victim mindset, that what's
Yes.
after, where we end up at the end, and what we
Tot-
do then.
Totally. See, it's interesting you were talking about that when you were little kids, and oh, it's just on TV. Because I've been told that the time, like events these days, especially in North America, I believe we are spoiled. I
Ugh.
believe media not really showing what's, because other side of the world, there's, as you said, like people like me go to war, and then they're in a dinner table or something, hey, they're watching something, hey, they're talking, oh, yeah, pass the ketchup or pass the gravy or pass the bread. It's like, it's not really. But if you really think about it, doesn't matter. See, I believe my mission, Megan, is to inspire people to open. Doesn't matter, white, black, yellow, where we come from, what language we speak. There is a human spirit. Who would have known? The people I'm helping now, they're not Iranian. There are some, but the
Yeah.
majority of people that I'm helping is all from North America and or other places, and it's like to open our eyes. It's all about love,
Hmm.
compassion.
Hmm. Yep.
That's the key, I believe. That's my
Yeah.
message. I want to bring love and compassion to the world, and they say no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we see how our experience can benefit others. And I'm very blessed and grateful that one of the other thing that my biggest things that I talk about is gratitude,
Yeah.
because I cannot live in a gratitude and fear at the same time.
Nope.
So I focus to find something that I'm grateful. And Megan, guess what? We have so much
So much.
to be grateful for.
Yep. So much. There's always something. There are always that's, I think I've never really been able, I don't know. I've never really been able to have a gratitude practice where it's like, I'm going to write 3 things every day. Cause some people are that way and they're very organized. And I just always find myself, today I woke up and I was tired. I've had 5 long
Mhm.
days and I'm just not really feeling connected to my partner. And I'm just like, oh, and all of a sudden, I'm just like, wait, oh, the birds outside. Oh, it's spring.
Mhm.
Oh, and just, oh, I love this time of year. And I'm so grateful
Yeah.
that I am in a place where I get to hear the birds every day. Oh, and it's just that little, there's always
Mhm.
something. There's something small. It doesn't have to be big for it to just shift you away from whatever. Cause I've heard this a lot, especially I love research. And so I've studied a lot about the neurological effects of trauma and
Yeah.
how it shifts and changes our brains. And but there's the neurological change that gratitude brings is amazing. Like just it rewires us just as fast as the trauma did the other direction. It's just
Totally.
sitting in that gratitude space. Um,
It's
yeah.
also, you know, I would like to talk about some also, because it's not trauma and addiction.
Mhm.
Addiction is something that, it's the stigma about addiction. For example, the people that I work with, and in Vancouver, there's a place we call Main and Hastings. It's just
Mhm.
so devastating, so
Yeah.
devastating. People are like dying.
Yeah.
It's like a, and guess what? There's someone's daughter,
Yep.
there's someone's son, there's someone's father, and they didn't suddenly say, hey, when I become 30 years old, I'm going to be homeless, sleeping in a. So it's the compassion part of that we have to start looking into for the people in addiction, and look at it as not just moral issue, as it's something, it's more into it, is
Yeah.
that people need to know and have more compassion. Yes, and again, we all have responsibility, and uh, I try to do the best I can to be in a maximum service to humanity. And
Mhm.
if I wake up every day and I have that idea, whatever I do, I have a good day.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So, talk about some of the. I know that you do uh, coaching and that type of thing, but
yes.
just share with us a little bit about. You've mentioned some of the people that you work with, but how do you really work with people? Is it online? Is it in person? Do you go do group counseling, group therapies? What types of work are you doing in your coaching practice?
I I've been helping people in a different setting for a while, for as a volunteer.
Okay.
Recently, I started coaching, which I'm working on, mostly in Vancouver. I
Sure.
have a few clients that I work online with,
Hmm.
but I have not, because as I said, I was focusing on I'm actually writing my second book, and bringing a couple other people's story and into the book. And so I am, the way that I work people is like, I'm not a psychiatrist. What I do, I have a method that it helped me,
Mm-hmm.
and with my trauma, with my addiction, with my uh, resiliency, because it's
Mm-hmm.
basically more like I'm a life coach in a way,
Yeah.
but also because I've been through so much in my life and I overcome, and I believe we all have a gift. And my gift is
Yes.
mostly communication, and some ignite someone's heart to take
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
And so that's how I
I
work,
love
and
that.
I'm working on a program that hopefully will come in next month or so. It's going to be bigger uh,
Sure.
setting. Yes.
Yes. I think that's the other amazing thing about my guests is we're always working on something. I
Yes.
think once you find that spark of life in yourself, it's that it's like you're that the candle,
Hmm.
like I, I always akin it to like going to a candlelight service, and you pass that light and you pass that, and that's where we are. We found a way to spark our own, but we didn't do it alone. There was someone along your way, and that's I always say we're reaching our hand behind and just who's behind me, and I'm going to be passing that forward to whomever I can that comes along my way. So I love that you're working on new things and a new book. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
People always say you should write a book, and I'm like, I'm not a writer, but but maybe
Yeah.
someday. I'm not. It comes out of nowhere. A lot of people are like, oh, I wasn't a writer till I wrote a book either.
Well, let
Uh,
me to inspire you. Let me tell you a little story about me writing a book. I wanted to. Everybody was telling me, when I was talking in 12 step programs, and they said, "Essi, wow, you have that amazing story." I didn't know even how to send the email. I
oh
had
wow.
this roommate. I had this roommate. He said, I asked him, "Can you send the email for me?" So that's how I start my book. Someone else helped me to send the email to this place and that place, and but it's all because I had a vision. I want to write a book and go and talk about it, and as a result I've been doing it for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. I love that. That gives me hope because see, I can't send emails.
Yes,
I'm a
yes,
very tech person, so
that's
maybe
what
I
I
should
mean.
just get out of my own way and be like, oh,
Yes, I'm here
you
to
need help
help.
too.
Anything I can do, Megan, I'm here to help.
I love that. I love that. So besides, I know that you do speaking. So is it TED Talk or TEDx? I know that you've done one or the other
I
or
done
both.
I done TEDx talk, and I done a lot of other platforms, and
Mm-hmm.
tons of radio, TV, podcasts, and
Mm-hmm.
just sharing my experience. I think we
Yeah.
all have a story, and our stories not belong to us. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Our story is not belong, but it's our stories. It needs to be shared, and that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do. And also, yeah, another thing that I'm doing that might interest you. I'm actually starting a publishing company
Ooh,
with someone in Arizona. Yes, we were
nice.
talking about it, and so anything I can do, let me know, Megan, if you decide to go that road.
Yeah, no, I love that. Again, like just always up to something, always doing good
Yes.
works, passing it on. But I do love, as we get here close to the time, I do love that you're talking about this human story. Like a
Hmm.
lot of times, for those people who are listening or watching, if wherever you are in your own healing journey, one, there is healing, there is life, there is thriving after whatever you've been through. Essie is not my first guest. Like I said, I hear stories all the time that I'm like, wow, 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 just that people have
Hmm.
overcome. And I think that is the thing, is that humans are resilient. Humans do overcome and find life beyond circumstance. How we got here and the path that brought us here is not is by no way an ending. It's just the path that brought us to where we are, and then that human existence, like you and I if this podcast didn't exist, there is no way you and I ever probably would have crossed
So
paths. And I feel blessed that we did, because we get to
totally.
share a human experience of, nope, there is life beyond. There is something more than what we overcame. So
Hmm.
yes, but I love that you're sharing your story. And again, the vulnerability piece. I think that's so huge. Society doesn't teach men, especially,
Hmm.
but women are not very much different, but they really don't show men and teach men that, hey, sharing and being open and honest and vulnerable is important. And I'm glad that you were sharing that message, because it really is important.
Thank you so much. I always, uh, when I do interviews, I always use this quote that I wrote, which is, "Do not fear the dark. That's where the light lives."
That is beautiful. There is no light without darkness.
Hmm.
Yes, that is very beautiful. So as we wrap up our time, I always ask my guests to share what is a really great way, if someone hears this or sees this and would really love to get connected with you, what is a great way for people to get connected directly with you today?
Well, I'm basically anywhere from my website, which is do not give up now.com, or any platform with Essi Bagheri. I am all in all platform, but yeah, Essi Bagheri, do not give up now.com. It's my website. They
Perfect.
can check it out. And yeah.
Yep. So all of the links to connect with Essie are right down below. So make sure that you, if you're watching this or listening to this, just tap a link, get connected with Essie, hear more of his story. Watch his TED Talk. I did that before, and I'm just blown away. So I feel super blessed to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining, sharing your story with the audience, sharing your light with us today, and all the wonderful things that you are doing. I always love to stay in touch with people and see all the wonderful things that happen after the show. So thank you so much, Essie, for joining me today.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you to my audience who joined us today. Thank you for joining us. And as always, I am wishing you peace, love, and flow. And may your flow be ever rising. Until next time.